Let's talk about render token. So we've been focused on AI. We do think it's transformational technology. And do you want to showcase the render thesis? And my follow-up question to that will be, can you have fast decentralized compute that can rival the service expectations a customer would have on any AI product?
Yeah. So the thesis for render is Airbnb for your graphics card. Um, that's the super simple version of it. Elaborating on that a little bit. One, people have been generally talking about doing distributed, taking latent compute resources, storage, compute, and bandwidth from computers all over the world and creating marketplaces for those things for different kinds of applications. This has been a long-running dream in software for at least the last 20 years.
It started like SETI.
Yeah, I mean, the first version of it, you could argue, was Napster. The second version kind of sort of was BitTorrent. There's been other versions of this,
right.
yeah, over the last years. In the context of crypto, there's been a few dozen attempts at versions of this, Filecoin being the most notable.
Yep.
I think that with compute specifically, we're at a very interesting point in time because the supply-demand imbalance is so acute and so painful. And so I think that the opportunity, I think render is going to be the primary benefactor of this, where people will say, I don't care where the graphics cards are. I just need something because something is better than.
Well, this is
what I
how
have, which is
Bitcoin
nothing.
started, right? If I can earn economics by using some compute.
Latent resources, yeah.
Correct, latent resources, and then you get a flywheel going around it. But what about the technical feasibility?
Yeah, so the most common critique of render is it's most of the people who are providing GPUs on the render network are not H100s and A100s, which is correct. But that's kind of missing the point for two reasons. One, training is off the table. No one is training large models on distributed systems. You need all of the GPUs hooked up together in one room. So training is off the table. Inference is where the opportunity is. And my answer, and then people say, well, you're not going to run GPT-4 on a 4080 or 4090 on some guy's computer at home. And the answer to that is obviously correct, but I think that's kind of missing the point. What we're seeing now is with Llama and with the other open source models is these are proliferating. People are right now running Llama on 4080s and 4090s at home. And my core problem with the critique of the model doesn't run on the GPU is it fundamentally is misunderstanding the elasticity of supply and demand. The demand is not, oh my God, I need this exact Llama model exactly as Facebook put it out. I can't make any changes to it. And if it doesn't run perfectly for this configuration, then the hardware is useless. And that's right. The demand on the side of the application developer is not that binary. The vast majority of people, I believe, would prefer to have a system where they say, whatever, performance of the model is 15% worse, but the model has been designed to run in a more constrained environment with whatever the memory and GPU parameters are of a 4080 or a 4090. And if we can increase the amount of available supply of compute by a factor of 100x and reduce the cost by a factor of 100x, then of course that's worth a 15% reduction in model quality. And the software is evolving very quickly. And because these systems like Llama are open source, they're being forked, and there's all kinds of different parameters of those coming out.
Inference costs are coming down, and hardware is becoming more accessible.
Right. And so what I believe is that the models will evolve. The primary constraint in the whole system is GPUs, is compute hardware, and therefore the software will evolve around the primary constraint. The primary constraint is not if the model is 15% dumber, then the consumers won't use it.
So software will rise to the standard of hardware accessibility, and the solutions and use cases will flow from that.
Correct.
So that part of the market will be addressed first.
I mean, the most famous example of this in the last 20 years in software is mobile. Windows couldn't run on a phone, and in fact, Microsoft had Windows Mobile, which was a completely separate thing. iOS, they took Mac OS, they cut out 90% of the fucking code base, and redid the touch UI and everything, and made iOS. And it runs on ARM, not Intel. And they made and they cut the software down to fit on the hardware.
I think we need to embrace revising and policy shifts around securities laws. So I like the overall vision of decentralized markets on chain and NASDAQ on chain.